It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. He is Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. We are Red Eye Radio. I did love the guy in Mondami and Bernie Sanders speaking in Brooklyn. The guy gets up there. You're a communist. This is not Cuba, you fool. Oh, my gosh. I just love that.
I was looking for Mickey from Seinfeld out there.
Oh, my gosh. The Christmas episode.
Yeah. They don't want a commie, you commie.
Get out of here, you pinko. The store manager comes up. That's when Kramer was Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But then again, you saw, Seinfeld again was almost like looking into a crystal ball of things that would happen in New York.
Honestly, yeah.
Remember how Kramer was so interested in accepting communism?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean it was almost that casual of it's fine, it's going to be fine, everything's going to be fine. That's kind of how it's going in New York City with the people that are supporting Mamdani, and then others are going no. That's funny.
So we're talking about the media and CBS, where they said on Face the Nation, you get the whole interview.
Yeah.
And I view that as a huge success because, now they've said that to the audience. And you and I talked about the fact that in all the time that we've been in the media, just the one time, it's the one time, and it was the one guy that he was on the air with us that time.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about, he was an Obama fan, and we said, well, Obama ran for office promising to skyrocket electricity prices. No, he didn't. Here's the video, or here's the audio. We played the audio, which of course is a video.
Yeah.
From the San Francisco Chronicle interview back in February 2008. He goes, well, you had to edit it. You edited it. Because we didn't edit it. What's your proof? He had no proof. But the fact is he threw that out there as, well, you guys must have edited that. And, of course, we didn't edit it. You didn't have to edit it.
Right.
It's how Obama thought. And now we know that's what they wanted to do because they wanted to raise the cost of all energy. And therefore, alternative inconsistent energy, which was more expensive, then the prices would become even, and then people would be more likely to buy. That's the whole concept behind the money that for years you got to buy an electric vehicle. The credit,
right,
to make it more even, because people couldn't afford it and therefore wouldn't want it. I thought that was great. But then the other story came across that Barry Weiss's Free Press is going to be bought by CBS.
All right. So,
and I asked you, and you went, eh.
Yeah, well, okay. So it's actually Paramount, Paramount, which is the parent company of CBS. But there's also the story, I guess, the sub-story that this could land Barry Weiss at a top gig at CBS News.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So everyone knows we're not optimistic in things like this, and we're not ones to say, well, maybe they're turning over a new leaf over there at CBS News, because that's kind of laughable. However, for the sake of what's going on now with the parent company, Paramount, with the continuing death of legacy media and the way that it's being presented, is it possible that they're saying, look, we need real journalists to do real work? Barry Weiss isn't exactly a conservative.
No.
She's a journalist. And I say journalist because she's not an activist. And by the way, if she's to receive and if the price ranges depending on where the story's coming from, anywhere from $100 million to $200 million. Paramount pays a lot for a lot of properties. I just found out that they paid hundreds of millions of dollars for the rights, to the streaming rights to South Park. Hundreds of millions. But it's hugely popular, right? You're trying to get these properties. The free press, I've been a supporter of from early on as a subscriber. I very much enjoy the work that is done there. I can appreciate it, and sometimes I don't always. They don't editorialize in the same way, but there are certain angles they take, and I go, maybe I would have approached it differently. But I still have a great deal of respect for the work that's being done at the Free Press. It's still, up until now, worth my subscription price.
And just so people know the background on it, in case you don't know about the Free Press, Barry Weiss was part of the Twitter files.
Right.
She was part of it. Michael Schellenberger was, Matt Taibbi. And all of them together always have been Democrats.
Right.
So
yes. These are not conservative.
So
these aren't Fox News people.
Right. So when Taibbi speaks or Schellenberger, sometimes I tend to disagree more. I'm just off the top of my head generally with Taibbi than I do Schellenberger, even though I do disagree with Schellenberger, and I have disagreed with Barry Weiss on some issues. But that's not the point. I don't view them. This is the point. I don't care. I met a guy when I was on vacation in Florida, younger guy, and I asked him what he listened to, and he actually listens to, the John Favreau. You remember Obama advisor? That, and we've played a couple of their
not
audio
the actor
cuts.
Director, but yeah,
Not the actor director, but no, but
clear.
the former Obama advisor.
Yeah,
and I can't think of the other two on it. Neither could he. But and I said, well, where do you stand? He goes, well, I'm a conservative. He goes, but I see problems as a conservative, with the Republican Party. I said, well, then why do you listen to that podcast? He said, I love listening to the left attempting to justify themselves and their positions when they can't do it. That they're criticizing what's going on and at the same time trying to sell sort of the same idea. And I love how they squirm trying to do it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great. But what I like is I can listen to somebody. I can listen to a lot of people who I disagree with to see how they get to their point if it's not done in the format of a political activist. A political activist many times is not trying to convince me.
Right.
They're just throwing out the bullet points that they believe will keep the converted there.
Yeah.
Or somebody who relates more to, we used to call it bumper sticker mentality, meme mentality, whatever. But they're not trying to convince me. I like people on the left that are trying to think they have a shot at convincing me.
Right.
Because then they're doing it from a way of, this is what I believe. I believe this is the issue. Okay, I'll agree with you on the issue there. How are you attempting to sell this issue? Because with the mainstream media, I don't agree with how they form the issues. You and I have talked about this many times. We don't debate anymore.
Right.
It's about what is the truth.
Right.
We do, but the debate really never happens between the right and left because you can't agree on what you're arguing about.
Right. Right. Well, it's, and I look at the situation with the Free Press and Paramount, and here's what I think, quite possibly they're looking at. And it is if you're going to do journalism, true journalism, I've always said true journalism has a very important role in a free society. The biases you set aside, and I can set aside any bias personally that Barry Weiss or Matt Taibbi or Michael Schellenberger or any of them have, as long as the work that they're doing, I believe, is thorough and honest. They may miss the mark on something. Again, they may not hit the angle that I want to hit or something, but that I've never come to the conclusion of, oh my gosh, they're being dishonest. Oh my gosh, they're being an activist here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's quite possible that you're seeing this not just with Paramount. You're seeing this with Jeff Bezos as the owner of the Washington Post. You're seeing this with Hollywood companies. Paramount is one of those that look at this situation and think to themselves, what is it? Who is it that we're trying to? What is it we're trying to be? What is our identity? You know, we talked a lot about Cracker Barrel. We've talked about Starbucks and companies that don't seem to know what they are. And when it comes to the media, today's media has changed because the conversations have changed. The availability of access to the listener or viewer has changed. It's constant. And also the feedback, the fact that it's a two-way street has also changed, which means the sensibilities have changed of the consumers of that media, of all media. And if you're not fully aware of that going in, I mean, I'd say this. If I were a comedian, I'd say it's a tough room. And by that, I mean the scrutiny is constant, and it should be. In journalism, it should always be constant. There shouldn't be this carrying of the flag, the wearing of the logo, unless you work there. There shouldn't be this fanboy type attitude. It should be, I can rely on this, or I can respect that work, and I like the work they do because it looks like they put the legwork in. I get that from the free press. I get that from a few other sources. But you don't get that from the legacy media. And as they rebuild these companies, and Paramount is in this rebuilding process, really, they're in a rebuilding process on their streaming. I mean, their Paramount Plus thing. They had I didn't even know that they had continued the Dexter series from Showtime, old Showtime series, and they did like a prequel. And just after announcing the renewal of season 2, they canceled it. Like a week later, boom, gone. Because everything has to be reviewed based on that ever-changing sensibility of the consumer of those products. Now, on shows, on streaming and stuff like that, to me, that's not as critical. On journalism, it's essential. It is the very foundation of it, because we should be highly critical of it. We should expect the truth, not cheerleading. We should expect to get honest work. By the way, even if it hits the side we're affiliated with or most closely aligned with, then sorry, that's the way it comes out. If I believe that is honest work and there is something behind it that shows, and it falls on wherever or whoever, even if I voted for that person, then that's the job of true journalism. So I think it is possible, not that Paramount's looking to go, conservative, because, again, nobody at the Free Press really is conservative. Barry and her sister are there, and there are other great writers there. They do great work. That's what I respect. Again, whatever, they may have a cause that's different than mine. They may have other things that are different than mine. I'm not getting activism from that, and I think it's quite possible Paramount's looking at this saying, we need to reapproach journalism from a very true, foundational approach of what we want to present as journalism. Because imagine the 60 Minutes where, again, it's not edited heavily. It's not, the reporter or the, whoever's doing the piece that is going to coo over, this person or that person, but then just grill the other side. I want you to grill both sides. quite frankly,
when
if you're going to do that, it should be, again, in the spirit of true journalism.
When we talk about the difference between the political activists in the mainstream media and, for example, people that we genuinely disagree with, we can look at, for example, the Roy Teixeiras, who writes The Liberal Patriot. He's a Democrat, but he looks at where the Democratic Party is going, and he's called them out. Well, he's ostracized for that, and really he ended up working for a conservative think tank.
Right.
Said I was more accepted at a conservative think tank because, okay, you're honestly giving what your views are. We agree on what the topic is, and now there's your opinion. Now we'll argue whose opinion's right, but we agree on the substance of the matter. You look at the radical transgender movement, and we talked about what's his name? The author of The Tipping Point, that the marketing, psychology book. I can't think of his name. Malcolm Gladwell, who admits that he knew the whole trans thing was bogus, but he went along with it anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But you say, why? Why would you, when you know it's BS, why would you go along with it? Well, I went along with it to get along with other people. Well, you're in the arena of ideas. The arena of ideas is the arena of ideas. As soon as you get into the media and start writing books and start being at different conferences and moderating and doing things like that and taking positions, why would you take a position that you know is completely BS?
Right.
Unscientific, a lie, everything else. Well, sort of to get along. Well, that's when you say, okay, that's political activism.
Yes.
That's not taking an opinion.
Exactly.
You're afraid to tell the truth.
Right.
I can't imagine being in the media and being afraid to tell the truth.
Zero conviction. In fact, the opposite of conviction.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howe's Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Too early for Christmas? That's not the case for Christmas tree growers like Western Washington State's John Tillman, as they perform nearly year-round work to make that merchandise available for the holidays. For example, currently being performed at Tillman's Christmas tree lot.
September, October, we're doing all our tagging for inventory. That gives us what numbers we have of what species, of what sizes for sale.
Also continuing for Tillman and his crew, a task that started earlier this summer.
We start a culturing season, starts in early July, and that will go through typically about the end of September, where we're going out straightening leaders, trimming sides of the trees, hopefully making sure that we have something that looks good for tagging.
The last time Tillman took a break from his Christmas tree farm duties, mid-January, the end of a one-month period shortly before Christmas, after winding down the holiday sales period. I'm Ron Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Let me rephrase. I said I don't know what it'd be like to be in the media in the arena of ideas and not tell the truth. I meant argue what the truth is, that the topic is truthful.
Yeah, right.
And that's what you see, like in the radical transgender movement. I always go back to, I think because it's a perfect example, Josh Hawley talking to the Berkeley professor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you believe men can get pregnant? No. Well, that's transphobic. Well, the whole concept is ridiculous. You're not arguing. Yeah. There's no truth being argued there.
Right.
Forget about your opinion being the truth.
Right.
You're not arguing what the truth is.
Right.
And when you see that in the media on a consistent basis, the premise of the question is not truthful. Well, when you have people like a Barry Weiss from the Free Press or a Michael Schellenberger or a Matt Taibbi, at least you know they're going to argue the topic you're arguing is a truthful topic.
Exactly. Right.
So.
Yes.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. I'm just happy to be reading John Nolte and Breitbart.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the films, and I would have never let an article about it this way, but as he writes about the Conjuring, The Last Rites, the horror film.
Yeah.
The wholesome pro-Christian feature film, The Conjuring, is blowing right past projections and setting box office records. The 9th chapter of the Conjuring universe, and the 4th starring Patrick Wilson and Farmiga as real-life demon hunters. Ed and Lorraine Warren was expected to top somewhere between 40 and 50 million this weekend. Mm-hmm. Warner Brothers expected something closer to 35 million. With Thursday and Friday receipts counted, Last Rites looks to be marching towards a door-blowing $65 million opening, which is not only the best opening for the Warren franchise, but it bests all 9 entries in the entire Conjuring universe. A previous best was 2018's The Nun at $54 million. What's going on here? My guess is everyone knew this would be the final chapter starring Wilson and Farmiga, and after 3 movies in 12 years, moviegoers feel a real attraction for the couple. Ed and Lorraine Warren are a rarity in movies today. Wholesome, openly Catholic, decent, caring people who love their only child, are devout in their faith, and enjoy a loving, sharing, normal, and romantic marriage. They live in the suburbs. They believe Christ died on their behalf and all that, which you can get into, and I understand where he's going there at that particular point.
Yeah, right.
Do I believe that Ed and Lorraine Warren... I remember the first thing that I read on them. I was a kid, and it goes back to a UFO thing that they investigated back then. And I knew nothing about them, and I went, I think they're nuts. This has to be the late 60s, early 70s, I remember thinking at the time. Yeah. So I'm not going to get into the wholesome pro-Christian feature film, The Conjuring, but I love Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, if that's how you pronounce her last name. They are fantastic as that couple.
Yeah. I mean, really pulled it off.
They pull it off.
Yeah.
I don't like many kind of horror films.
Right.
I just never have.
Yeah.
Things like they were just great. Plus, Peter from Office Space was in the first one.
Right.
So
I did watch An Inconvenient Truth, but most horror films I don't watch.
I'm not a slasher person at all. I mean, I have no interest in doing it.
When I was a kid, a buddy of mine and I used to go get Fangoria magazine. Let's see here. I don't know if they still make them or not. I mean, I don't think they print them, but it would basically go behind the makeup, right, of how the horror films were made. That to me always fascinated me. I wasn't really a fan of the movies as much as I was, hey, how did they make that look real or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
You know? I don't know. I don't consider them great entertainment unless I'm just in one of those moods to, all right, let's watch something to get the old heart racing or whatever. I can't think of anything really that strikes me as in terms of horror films that would be like one of my favorite films. I've just never really been into the genre.
Yeah, and I don't know if I consider The Village a horror film.
I never did.
Yeah.
I never did. It was a movie about Trump. We've already lined it out for you.
We did, didn't we?
We did.
And so everybody had to move into their own little society to get away from Trump.
A monster that actually wasn't really a monster.
Right, exactly. We did that, didn't we?
The color red. We all know this. It's true. The wall. They built a wall. We know.
I will say this, and I do agree with John Nolte here where he talks about, because just saying wholesome for The Conjuring because it's scary. I mean, I'm sure the third one is
that's kind of funny.
But he does make a great point. I mean, whether you believe the real Ed and Lorraine Warren were actually legit or not,
right?
But as portrayed in the movie, they are fighting evil.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They are good, decent, religious people who are fighting evil. They're fighting demons most of the time.
Right.
At least in the Conjuring series, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I can go with that. And now I would have to ask him, does the left hate that they're fighting evil?
Yeah, right.
He goes, people are especially attracted to this when it comes to the broken Hollywood system that portrays men as degenerates, feminine, and toxic, and portrays women as masculine, strident, and obnoxious.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Karens. I had, that's why I started laughing. Obnoxious girl bosses, portrays families as dysfunctional, and portrays the suburbs as stifling and hypocritical, and portrays a Christian faith as oppressive. That's a great point.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
In all these in these movies, it doesn't.
Right.
And so but they are. I mean, they are good.
It's really well done.
It's really. Yeah, I haven't seen this one, but the second one, I just didn't like the settings. I think it was was that set in London or something? They went across.
Yeah, and I don't know.
I like the cinematography of old houses in the woods. If they're going to be possessed, that's what I want.
Yeah, and it needs to have a basement.
Yes, it's got to have a basement.
We don't have those in Texas, not many, but it needs to have a basement. An attic isn't that scary. Ooh, let's go look at the insulation. It's when
that arm comes through that. When you go into the closet and that arm comes through that little, little door that goes to the attic.
Yeah, that's true.
That'll scare the hell out of you.
Well, that's a different kind of attic, though. It's like a real attic.
Okay.
See, in Texas, we don't have an attic that you can actually go into.
Oh, that's
10 months out of the year.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's a great point.
Well, if you want hell, go into your attic in Texas.
but
it'll feel like it anyway.
I just saw that, and I love that.
I don't know over our vacation, we just happened to turn the TV on one night. We normally don't in the hotel room, and Top Gun 2 was on. Which was interesting because part of that was filmed actually at Lake Tahoe, and that's where we were. And I just thought, and the one scene I was hoping we weren't going to stay awake for, because it's just so sad, is the scene with Val Kilmer.
Oh,
and it's just it's just brutal to watch it for every reason. And and it's like but it's so well done because again the movie, those in the movie, Tom Cruise, clearly everybody understands what the movie is, right? The Conjuring would be, I would put that in the same vein. It's not the same genre, but what the movie is. When Hollywood relearns, if they ever do, what entertainment is, it's that whatever you're going to make, it has to have, again, you have to know what it is you're trying to make. Because if you go out there with a separate purpose, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. It's like if you went to a concert and the artist said, you know what, we're not going to perform, we're going to talk to you. And I was forgiving one time when I saw at the old Cowboys Stadium, the Eagles, Hell Freezes Over tour.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, Don Henley brings out an eagle, an actual eagle, a bird, and The Bird's like, you guys named your band after us? But they talk about conservation and everything else. I'm like, okay, perfect time to go to the men's room. I got plenty of, it doesn't matter. You can take that break and do that. If that's your cause and you want to raise awareness, okay, good for you. Had I shown up and then it's like, okay, no Hotel California, no take it easy. We're just going to talk about birds for 3 hours. This is the problem for Hollywood, is that they've lost sight of what it is they're trying to do, of what the identity is of the actual movie. Whether, it doesn't matter what genre. Why can't you be silly in comedy anymore? But it's funny, I had a conversation with my oldest daughter, and she is past 40. And now we talk about, I know.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay, continue. I'm sorry.
Well, she'll be 43 in November. Wow. So when we talk, about, okay, she says, like, I'll go back and watch certain sitcoms, from whatever, and streaming on wherever, and there are things that don't work anymore. And I said, okay, but are you saying they're not funny to you? Or are you saying people would be offended by that? Are you saying you're offended or others would be offended? See, this is what it gets down to. When that man says, when what's his name says, look, I knew it was wrong, but the mob was going to come after me, basically. I was intimidated to change my opinion on things. That doesn't happen with just prominent people. It's if you find something cringeworthy, the question is, are you offended by it, or is it that you think someone else is going to be offended by it, and therefore you're afraid to laugh at it? I mean, if you look at probably the most offensive movie of all time, comedy-wise, was Blazing Saddles.
Mm-hmm.
Without question.
And it wasn't the campfire scene.
That was the least offensive part of the movie.
It wasn't the baked beans campfire scene.
Right.
That was not it. Yes.
It's a movie that will never, ever, ever, ever be made again. But the point is that the absurdity is where the humor lived. The absolute absurdity is where the humor lived. And not that I expect them to, well, why can't they make another Blazing Saddles? It's just this simple. Why can't you just be silly in movies and make a comedy? Why can't you, I think Tom Cruise is proving, he seems to be doing it all by himself, that you can make an action movie and make it successful.
You and I, did you and I, was it you and I or was it me alone? Talking to Steve Byrne about that one time, the comedian who did, who had his TBS show, Sullivan and Son.
Right.
And I remember we were talking, and he was talking about how, well, no, it's the what do you call it? The management,
right?
The movie studio honchos,
right?
Well, do you have this yet? We just want to tell a damn story,
right? That was the first time we had Steve on.
Yeah,
we talked about that.
We just want to tell. We want to tell a story.
Yep.
This is a thing that I experienced in my life.
Yeah.
Well, does it have this demographic or that demographic or this? No, because they weren't in it. It's my story. It's a story. You want to tell a story that somebody has that? Go ahead. This is my story. He goes, It was maddening because they weren't worried about putting something together that was my piece of art that I believed and they believed was a great story that they could sell and get people to watch.
Right.
When we agreed to it, then they started wanting to change it to something else.
Yep.
That had nothing to do with my idea to begin with.
Yep. And that doesn't work ever.
866-98 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Oh, one more death to announce. the great Canadian goalie Ken Dryden, who played for Montreal, but most Americans will know him from what? He, along with Al Michaels, called the Miracle on Ice game.
Oh, all right.
When Al Michaels says 5 seconds left, and you hear it's over, and then he says, do you believe in miracles? And then you hear unbelievable. That's Ken Dryden.
Yeah.
He died over the weekend.
Oh.
Great goalie for the Montreal Canadiens, and probably most Americans don't know he was part of that call.
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.